There's no way the sequel was necessary, right? Negative, Ghost Rider. The theater is full. Hey everybody, welcome to Mainly Movies. Today I'm going to be talking about the 2022 action drama sequel, Top Gun: Maverick. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for a variety of movie-related content like reviews, ranked lists, and trailer reactions. All my reviews include a breakdown of the pros and cons, my rating, and some tailored film recommendations, so be sure to watch through to the end of this video for all of that extra content. Top Gun: Maverick stars Tom Cruise, Miles Teller, and Jennifer Connelly, and was directed by Joseph Kosinski. Set more than 30 years after the events of Top Gun, it tells the story of Maverick, played by Tom Cruise, who's called in to train a group of elite pilots for a specialized mission. Franchise revivals and long-belated sequels to decades-old films are not all that uncommon these days. From Mary Poppins to Ghostbusters and everything in between, theaters always seem to be showing something with some sort of connection to an older film. But even with the tendency towards nostalgia cinema, sometimes a movie's announcement is just baffling. You see that a sequel's coming and just wonder why. That was Top Gun: Maverick for me. A sequel to a very cheesy, very 80s movie more than 3 decades after the original. A sequel to an original film that wrapped up nicely and didn't seem to really warrant a continuation of the story. And on top of all that, a sequel that underwent nearly 3 years of delays, being pushed back numerous times from its original July 2019 release date. Top Gun: Maverick is a film that had no business working, let alone actually being good, and yet somehow it managed to do both of those things. When this film was announced, I couldn't even fathom what they could possibly do to make a worthwhile continuation of the story so many years later. The original Top Gun is basically a glorified sports movie. It's got some romance thrown in, but it's mostly about some hotshot pilots competing for a trophy. It's occasionally fun, but there's really not all that much to it from a plot perspective, which makes the story one of the weakest aspects. Top Gun: Maverick does a complete 180 in that regard. The story's one of its strongest elements. It's simple and straightforward, but that really works in its favor. There's a clearly defined goal for the characters and the plot, as well as a specific time frame in which that goal needs to be accomplished, which really keeps the story on track and well paced. There's still some fun moments and a little romance, but there's nothing particularly extraneous in the story this time. It's got stakes and tension. There's a real mission this time, not just cocky pilots trying to win a trophy, which makes for a much more engaging experience. The story isn't the only engaging thing here either. The characters are also significantly improved. If you couldn't tell by the name of the film, Maverick is still the central character. He's definitely still the same guy, but an older, more experienced, and arguably wiser version. He's learned and grown from his past mistakes, and spends some time trying to pass on that knowledge to the new generation of pilots. But even after all these years, he's still haunted by what happened to Goose. And so interactions with Goose's now grown pilot son Rooster pack a bit of a punch. Really, all of the emotion just hits harder this time. I think that's partly because Cruise is just a better, more experienced actor than he was 36 years ago, but I also think the script is quite a bit better as well. Because even beyond Maverick and Rooster, all of the characters feel more fleshed out than their counterparts in the original film did, making you feel much more connected to and invested in them and their success. Of course, we can't talk about a Top Gun movie without discussing the aerial sequences. As you've no doubt heard by now, Top Gun: Maverick's aerial footage is astonishing. The flight scenes were the best part of the original film, but for a non-plane enthusiast like myself, they do get a bit dull and repetitive after a while. But that is not the case here. More than 30 years of advancement in camera technology and more than a little creativity yielded some amazing flight footage here. I saw this movie in Screen X format, which has 2 extra screens on the sides for peripheral footage, and that made these sequences even more immersive. But even without that, this footage was impressive. It all looked amazing from a technical standpoint, but the aerial sequences also really contributed to telling the story. And I don't think that was necessarily the case for the original movie. It looked cool, but there's a lot of just random flying around in that one. This one takes its time to ensure that we as the audience know what the plan for the mission is. So during training and the actual third act mission, we know what action needs to happen, so we can anticipate it, but also we're much more engaged and feel like we're almost a part of it. This anticipation element does make things feel a little predictable at times, though. It's great for staying engaged with the characters or the action, but you can guess where things are going to go at pretty much every turn, especially if you're familiar with the original movie. That's not to say this predictability is necessarily a bad thing, it's just a thing, and I think different people will have very different opinions on it. There's a lot of nostalgic elements throughout this movie. Returning characters and props, quite a few paralleled scenes, including slow motion beach sports, and of course, some danger zone. But I gotta say, it doesn't really feel fan servicey. It's the right amount of homage and reference. It uses it effectively, but not as a crutch. So this film's able to be an exciting return to Top Gun for fans, but also a completely understandable and entertaining film for people who've never seen the original. Alright, let's talk about the pros and cons. The biggest pro has gotta be the aerial sequences. Probably not much of a surprise there, but the flight footage and related action scenes are spectacular. These sequences were the best part of the original Top Gun too, but Top Gun Maverick shows significant improvement. These sequences are fantastic from a technical standpoint, showcasing some stunning cinematography and composition, but they're also extremely effective at immersing the audience in the story and highlighting the tension, especially during the third act. Pro number 2 is the story. I've gotta say, this was probably my biggest source of skepticism coming into this film. The original Top Gun had a fairly lackluster story, with not much to it, so I really didn't know how they were gonna craft a worthwhile continuation and follow-up, but they did. The story is much, much better than that of the original. It's easy to follow, but exciting and entertaining. Emotional and nostalgic, but not cheesy or cloying. And despite some homage and parallels, this is a proper sequel. A continuation of the story that's quite different from the original and not a rehash at all. On the con side, my only issues are just minor nitpicks. There are a handful of slower moments, and a few characters that didn't contribute much to the story, but the only thing that occasionally struck me as potentially negative was the predictability. As soon as the meat of the story begins to unfold, it's very easy to predict how the story is going to go. But I will say that this was a very minor issue and didn't negatively affect anything too much for me. When it comes to predictability in movies, there's kind of two varieties. There's the annoying, well, of course that's gonna happen, kind. And then there's the satisfying, oh, I see how this is gonna play out, kind. And for me at least, Top Gun Maverick's predictability falls very much into that second category. Before I give you my rating and recommendations, I want to remind you that if you're interested in buying Top Gun Maverick or any of the other films I mentioned today, I do have affiliate links for all of them in the description below. I get a small commission from anything you buy using one of my links, so I'd really appreciate it if you use them if you're in the market for any of these movies. I'm gonna give Top Gun Maverick 4 out of 5 paws. This was a pretty big surprise for me. Definitely one of those sequels that's better than the original, and by quite a margin too. The action and aerial footage is exciting as expected, but the story, characters, and emotion were also extremely impressive. I would recommend Top Gun Maverick to people who like the original Top Gun, or really anybody who likes action movies. I'm not much of a plane person, and I think the original movie's just okay, but I really enjoyed this one. There's a lot of references to pick up on and emotional impact for those familiar with the first movie, but this film does a good job of reminding us of all the important integral moments from the original. So even if you've never seen it, you'll certainly be able to understand and appreciate what's going on in this one. If you liked Top Gun Maverick, I've obviously gotta recommend Top Gun. It introduces Maverick and the events that impact him still in this film, and also establishes the Top Gun school. It's extremely cheesy at times, and very 80s, but it features some nice aerial sequences, not to mention Danger Zone about a dozen times. If you want another transportation drama, you might want to check out Ford v Ferrari. Rather than jets and military missions, this focuses on race cars and preparation for Le Mans. Similar to Top Gun Maverick, Ford v Ferrari features some incredibly immersive and intense action sequences within a vehicle. And if you're interested in another strong Tom Cruise-led action movie, you should watch Mission Impossible Fallout. This is the 6th film in the Mission Impossible film series, and features an impressive story and spectacular action, including Cruise piloting a few vehicles. Alright, a couple questions for you guys. Number 1, have you seen Top Gun Maverick? If so, what'd you think of it? And number 2, what's a sequel that you think was better than the original movie? Be sure to leave your answers in the comments below so we can get a discussion going. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment, insight, or information out of this review, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe while you're at it to see more videos like this. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainly Movies, the way life should be.